Hey guys, Chris with Audio Obsession, back with another video. This one's titled A Couple Grails and a What the Fuck? Let's get into it. First off, what I'm listening to is Bathed in Blood. See if I can get that without the glare. This is a Niagara Falls, Ontario band, death metal band. This album is titled Disfigured Dementia. So yeah, really cool technical death metal band, like fantastic band. Really, really cool. Not exactly sure if they're still going. I think they may have stopped quite some time ago. And I'm not even sure how I came across the band. I believe I saw somebody talking about something on a forum that I was on, and I just thought, oh, a band that's this close to me that I never heard of before, and I went to check it out, and I freaking loved it, so I had to pick it up. Representing some local band here, Bathed in Blood. And also, finally I got this up here, got a frame for it. So my son, for Christmas, made my logo as a poster for me. So finally I was able to get a frame and get that hung up. And here we go. So we are on to Grail number 1. So this album came out in 1995, and I remember it clear as day. The anticipation for me for when this album was coming out was huge because I was a big fan. And that band is Deicide, Once Upon the Cross. So, back when it came out, I did buy it on CD. And I remember the store that I bought it from, I was just eagerly awaiting it. I kept reading all the hype in the magazines, and I'd be going in and out of this store. Do you got it yet? Do you got it yet? Finally it came out. And it's interesting because the original artwork was definitely not this. It was actually the full uncensored autopsy of Jesus. Now, when the CD was on the shelf, this is the censored version that they had to come out with, the censored artwork, to be able to get it onto the shelves. Well, you couldn't even see this when I bought the CD. They had the entire thing covered. They couldn't even get away with showing that, at least in the area that I bought it from. But this is a quintessential death metal album. There's the lineup here. Band. So this album it's a 28-minute death metal album. They came in, they kicked your ass, and then they left. Like, it's just one of those just come and kill you, and they're out of there. A fantastic album. I absolutely love this album. One of my absolute favorites. And of course, way back when, I ended up getting rid of the CD just so that I was able to trade up and get more stuff. So everything I had ended up getting dubbed on cassette. But I didn't have the money back then, right? So nowadays, when I got a tiny bit more money, I'm not letting stuff like this get away. So I was really excited to finally get my hands on a copy that I've been wanting for quite some time to get on vinyl. And of course, just your typical black. And yeah, this one is a 2011 repress. And regardless, even though it's not an original 95, it still was on my top list of albums that I had to get on vinyl. And as a repress, it's fantastic. It's amazing sounding. Of course, nothing fancy here, just your lyrics. Christ's hand with, the band, other information. But yeah, a grail of mine that I am so glad I finally got in my collection because this album, start to finish, is amazing. Every single song, there is not one song that sucks on this thing, not one song that's mediocre. They all pummel you. It's killer stuff. I was really excited too. Recently I saw, believe it was on Instagram, Deicide kind of made a post showing the Legion album cover and just coming soon. So I'm hoping this means they're coming out with a repress because I gotta get my hands on it. It's funny, like, their albums, especially this one and Legion, have been extremely sought after, but yet they're not repressed often enough. And it just creates such a huge hype, and people want these damn things. I recall Hell's Headbangers did a reissue, which I was that short on getting my hands on one. I missed out on that, so either way, this of course cost an arm and a leg, but it's well worth to have it. And hopefully Legion gets done because I need that too. I still got my original Legion CD, but of course to have it on wax, I gotta have it. Anyways, next up, this is another Grail, something I've been looking for a long time. I could have gotten it on CD, but I wanted it on vinyl. And I remember hearing this band for the very first time on the Death Is Just the Beginning 1 compilation album. And I absolutely loved it. That would be Defecation. And the album Purity Dilution. This is a killer album. So originally, this album came out in 1989. In and around the time is basically, it's kind of like the birth of grindcore. Mind you, Napalm Death did do it first. Their Scum album came out in 87. Now, of course, you've got drummer Mick Harris from Napalm, and then here we got Mitch Harris, which also made his way into Napalm Death. Fantastic grindcore album, and for the time when it came out, it's awesome. Just killer stuff. It kind of blows me away, like bands like Napalm Death, Defecation, Carcass, even like Repulsion. The stuff that they were coming out with was just like, we're gonna make stuff blistering speeds, and kinda, it's almost like you've got, you know, the heavy metal was really popular, and then it was bands like this that are like, no, we want it to sound nastier, and it's gonna be faster, and it's gonna be heavier, and it's albums like this that ended up coming out. And this is a great example of early grindcore at its finest. I recall, so this is a 2010 repress, and the original album when it was pressed didn't have that song. So this is technically a bonus song that was added later on, a few years later. And that would have been the song right there that was on the Death Is Just the Beginning compilation. So, if you know the band members here, Mitch, he was part of like a couple different bands that were all just kind of boiling around this time. Maybe a little bit before, I think a year before, he was the guitarist in Righteous Pigs, which is another thing I need to get, which is on my bucket list of stuff. He also, of course, moved into, after this, Napalm Death, and has been there ever since, I believe, 90 or 91 and up till present. He also had a side project that he got into, if anybody ever remembers, Meat Hook Seed. They were an interesting project which sounded nothing like this stuff, or Napalm, or any other bands of this genre. It was almost like an industrial type metal with a lot of groove, but you could really tell Mitch's guitar sound and his riffs. It was like his Napalm Death style riffs, just in a very different genre of music. It didn't, as far as I remember, it didn't really take off that much, but it did come out at the right time because you had stuff like Nail Bomb that were coming out and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, that's not what the Grail is. This is the Grail. And of course this one, gatefold. So you got all your lyrics here, and then a big write-up of how Defecation came about. So I'm grateful to finally have this in my collection. This actually, because I never had Defecation back in the 90s, even on CD. It was just something that never popped up in my area. And except for being on the Death Is Just the Beginning, so it's awesome to finally have this. So, now we move on to the what the fuck? So, this band and this album was actually first featured where I had seen it on Liam's channel, the Death Doom Metalhead. So this album was sent to him for like a review, and he gave his opinion on it, and I thought it was, you know, interesting, an interesting opinion, and a little bit comical here and there. And I ended up forgetting about it after his video. A little while later, this band got in contact with me and said, hey, you want to check it out? I said, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. I listened to the first song's an intro, was the second song. I listened to a couple seconds of it, and the drums just kind of insanely blasts in this song, and I stopped it, I said, okay, yeah, I'll pick it up. It was cheap enough. This band and this album, it came all the way from the Ukraine, Hyperboreus. And the album title, I completely forgot, total brain fart, Fighting with God. So it's got some really interesting and cool artwork. The artwork alone, I would kind of, what it reminds me of is like Burzum album covers, that type of artwork. Here we got, so it's actually a two-man band, and they take on the roles of all the instruments. So, what makes this album a what the fuck is... okay, so I gotta try and describe this properly here. This thing is loaded full of technicality, and these two musicians are incredible musicians. 100% incredible. This album is full of, like I said, technicality, blistering speeds, vocals, like deep guttural vocals, really full of angst and just really, really cool. Guitar work is just so hard to wrap your head around. The bass work, the same thing. It's just flurries of notes, amazing amounts of technicality. The what the fuck part of it is they're an extremely technical band, but their main influence is 100% technical jazz. So, here, I'll show you a picture. Now, unfortunately, this thing kind of came completely destroyed. I haven't replaced the case yet. It was in a package, just one of those manila bubble wrap packages. and literally it went through a war and back. It was I should have taken a picture. It was literally shredded to pieces, and then all the pieces looked like they were laid on top of tape, and it was placed back together. It was, I can't believe the CD even made it out alive, but it did. So here's a picture of the guys, and what you'll notice, you know, Pestilent shirt and Atheist. So you definitely got your technicality on both bands. Jazz influence with Atheist. So the thing with bands like, say, Atheist, Cynic, these bands have amazing technicality, and they have influences of jazz. Especially Atheist really had a lot of jazz influence. This album is, to my ears, all influence. So it's not, you're not getting a metal album or a death metal album with some influence of something else. It's literally hardcore technical jazz. The album actually makes me feel stupid sometimes when I'm listening to it. Because like Liam said, it is a hard listen. 100% hard listen. You have to try to, and the way I did it was put on headphones and listen to it and really try to listen and dissect it, because there's so much going on that you can't just sit down and have it playing, because then it just becomes noise, because there's just too much going on. So you have to literally focus, and it takes a lot of focus. Now for me, it takes so much focus that, like I said, I feel stupid sometimes because I can't wrap my head around what in the hell is going on. They've got some really killer riffs, and then there's ones that come in that are super catchy, and it's like, oh, okay, there you go. You got this groove, and you can actually start, you know, bobbing to it or whatever. And then it goes off into these like jazz tangents where if you tried to kind of move and groove to it, you'd basically come off looking like you're having a stroke. The technical part of this jazz, now I've tried to explain to people when, you know, talking to music, how I describe jazz, because I'm not a jazz fan at all. I can appreciate jazz, and I can appreciate the musicality and the ability, because jazz is a very difficult style of music. So describing jazz, a technical jazz, the way I kind of describe it is like, you know, your bass, your guitar, and everything are all slightly out of tune from each other and playing different things. I don't know what it is about it. It's just, it's hard for me to grasp. It's like picture this. It's like every single sour note on guitar is then collected and gathered up and said, okay, we'll put a genre for you. We'll call it jazz. That's how I describe jazz. I'm not trying to downplay it any or make fun of it. It's just, it's so odd sometimes that you can't follow along with it. They're just like weird notes that just kind of, I don't know what it is. Now, like a band like Atheist that's got some influence, you'll hear some really cool metal, and then all of a sudden they've got these, you know, influence here that just kind of spice things up. What would have made it easier for me, and I'm only speaking for me, is that if it was like that, where you've got something to grasp onto, something that's catchy and memorable, and then add in these influences to spice it up. Because it's made up of only the influence, it's like you have to, there's just too much going on and you really, really gotta focus. Now, having said all this, like, I'm not saying this is bad. This is not bad. These guys are extremely talented, like, extremely talented. The drumming on this, the drummer is an absolute friggin' machine. 100% an absolute machine. Probably my favorite parts on this album is just listening to how insane the drummer is. Just unbelievable. But yeah, like, on top of that, lyrically, it's incredible. The lyrics, I actually sat and listened to and read the lyrics. They are fantastic, well-written lyrics. These guys are really, really good with the lyrics side of it. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. It was just extremely hard. It made me feel dumb sometimes, and it was very, very challenging. But there's something here. It's just, for me, if I'm to expect it to grow and get bigger, say as a band, it almost has to have some more stuff that's memorable that I can at least wrap my head around. And then, you know, just automatically think of, you know, when I hear the riffs and go, oh, I know what this is. I've listened to this a handful of times, and there's still parts that come up that I'm listening to and going, oh my god, what's going on here? I gotta rewind it and and try to decipher what just happened. But yeah, anyways, it's a really interesting listen. I'm grateful that I got it because it came from all the way across the world, so it's in my collection to stay. It's definitely unique, 100% unique, and I am grateful that I do have it. Another gripe, if I had to gripe about it, and it wasn't until I got it and tried to play it, I then remembered one of the issues that Liam had. I cannot play this CD. I have nothing to play this CD. It is not playable on our CD players because it appears to be a data CD. So I don't even have a computer that I can play it on. So basically it just kind of sits in my collection now and I can't even use it. The way, of course, that I've been listening to the album is just on Spotify. I'm able to just stream it there. So yeah, I mean, I kind of wish, like, the packaging, everything, like the booklet is full of stuff, full of pictures and everything. There was a lot of work put into it. It's just, for me personally, because I just don't have something to play it, it kind of all went to waste a little bit. But whatever, it's in my collection. That's what I got. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they put something else out, what kind of direction, if they kind of stick with the same direction, or, you know, kind of branch off into, I don't know, adding a little bit more memorable stuff into it. Anyways, that is my video. Not sure what I'm gonna have next. I'm probably gonna have another collection update. I got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just kind of sectioning stuff off. So anyways, thanks as always for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you next time.